y'all. Lee Bratcher, I'm the president of the Texas Blockchain Council. We're here in the Texas Capitol during Consensus, talking with thought leaders and CEOs of various companies that are here at Consensus. And we're honored and happy to be with Austin Woodward, CEO of Taxbit. Austin, thanks for being here for the conversation. Let's jump right into the recent news. Senator Gillibrand and Senator Lummis have filed their much anticipated legislation pertaining to cryptocurrency and virtual currencies. And there's a lot of tax implications in there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Taxbit, and then go into what you think about the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here first and foremost, Lee. Yes, my name's Austin. I think I'm the CEO of Taxbit, but my favorite three-letter acronym is actually CPA. So I'm a tax nerd at heart, and that's really, I think, the spirit of this conversation. And so what Taxbit does, contrary to popular belief, cryptocurrency actually isn't currency. It's improperly named. This is crypto property, and it's not just that way in the United States, but also most countries around the world. And so in our society, as we transact using a property asset class, and this is, I think we'll talk about, going to really extend to the tokenization of everything. It's not just Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be real world asset classes. Taxbit's a technology first platform that solves all of the tracking, tax reporting, cost basis, and connecting the entire ecosystem together. So governments, enterprises, and everyday retail investors can go about their everyday lives using this incredible asset class. And so that's what we do at the heart, is just enabling digital asset adoption by automating tax and accounting compliance. On the bill front, yeah, I think that's really groundbreaking. It was really awesome to see that come to pass, and there's a lot of tax implications in there. First and foremost, backing up, the infrastructure bill passed earlier this year, and so there is a lot of, I think, momentum around enterprise broker level reporting, as opposed to the historical way where all the burden fell on consumers. It was your responsibility to go and aggregate your data, calculate your own taxes, figure out how to go about that. And that's just not how other asset classes work. If you think about equities, you go on your broker's application and they give you a 1099 and they tell you exactly what you need to report.
Yeah.
And so Senator Lummis is supportive of essentially mirroring that in conjunction with the infrastructure bill, where, hey, cryptocurrency middlemen or brokers will have the responsibility to use solutions like Taxbit to integrate tax tracking. So for the benefit of every retail investor, they don't need to think about it. They will just get a form at the end of the year. They'll have even real-time visibility throughout the year, and that tax headache will be solved. That was one piece. I think the other piece, which was really interesting and something I've been an advocate for, is how can we actually give utility to cryptocurrency as a payment vehicle without every time I go and use Bitcoin for a $10 Starbucks without worrying about like micro taxable transactions, right? And so she introduced a $600 threshold in that bill, which I think would really spur a lot more use cases around micropayments and utility around this as a currency vehicle.
Yes, absolutely. And I learned something new. So I thought the de minimis exemption was $200. So I learned that it was $600. That's interesting.
It's what's proposed. Yeah, we'll see.
And 4X is 200. Is that correct for the de minimis exemption?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit higher.
Yeah, and we'll see. I think that's been proposed for several years now. We'll see if it gets legs, but something that I'm an advocate for. So I think more merchants around the world can start to get exposure and make this a seamless, intermediate-less, and cheaper experience for end retail investors. That's what the technology does.
Love it. I'll soon be a Taxbit customer on a personal level.
It's free. On the personal level, it's a free platform. Yeah, we monetize up market at the enterprise and the government level.
Yeah. I just have at this point been buying and holding.
Yeah.
So it had
good for you.
Tax implications. Yeah. Not buying as much as I wished that, everyone has this.
Of course. You and me both.
100% of people that have ever bought crypto wish they bought more. So let's talk a little bit more about governments and about adoption amongst municipalities and states. The TBC had a chance to work with Fort Worth when they became the first city in the United States to mine Bitcoin directly to the city's balance sheet. There are potential tax implications there. And companies like Taxbit can help relieve some headaches. So when we think about something like that, or a municipality or a state accepting crypto as a tax payment or as payment for government services, there's other opportunities there too. So How do you guys help with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's actually two perspectives that we help from. It's one, the tax side, and also the accounting side. Let's start with the accounting side, because you mentioned on balance sheet accounting at the government fund level. So US GAAP guidance, and this I think is a lot extensible to government guidance as well, GASB and other acronyms out there setting the standards, they require you to essentially track the cost basis, the impairment value or the lowest price, and the fair market value. So every balance sheet date, there's 3 prices that you need to track. And so Taxbit goes in and runs all of that analysis, connects with the ecosystem so it's seamless and automated, and then produces those journal entries and other accounting records for audits and the like. And so that's one side. The second side is the tax side. And as soon as states and municipalities start to disseminate this or collect it, it kind of goes 2 directions, and I'll talk about that, then their residents will have tax obligations associated with that. So if you pay your property tax, for example, in Bitcoin, you're disposing of a capital asset, and unless that disposal resulted in a gain under Senator Loomis's proposal, less than $600, then you will have a kind of a taxable event of, hey, what did you purchase that at? It also goes both ways. Let's keep in mind that crypto is volatile, and so you could dispose of assets at a loss and harvest losses, increase your tax refund, carry forward some of that tax benefit as well. So when we talk about tax, don't always think that you're getting hit every time. It goes both ways with the ebbs and flows. And so from a state and municipality perspective, seamless reporting to their end residents makes it very easy. Hey, I submitted my property tax payment. The government likely got a transfer statement from an exchange showing what that cost basis was, and then they can go and issue, hey, this was the disposal value, the value at the time of receipt to pay that obligation in full. Your cost basis was this. The delta is that gain or loss. Here's the 1-page form. File this at the end of the year with your taxes. Good to go. And so that's really how Taxbit operates in the background. Municipalities don't need to think about it, nor do their residents. They just go and transact the way that they should. And then I think when we start to disseminate to residents, other states are talking about, do we incentivize through dividends, different tax credits, or residents coming here, setting up operations, and have different incentive pooling programs for that. That will actually set cost basis, right? If you start to do that, you're going to see, oh, I received Bitcoin as a resident. That's likely an income generating event. That income is reported as taxable, and then unless it's deemed tax-free at the federal level, TBD on how that will all work. But from that point forward, you have this cost basis where you will either recognize a gain or a loss when you ultimately dispose of that. And so again, all of this is resulting from property being used in society for the first time ever as a way of commerce, as a peer-to-peer mechanism, as staking and lending and airdrops and all these new events that traditional asset classes haven't seen. And that's, I think, the power of blockchain.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify and curiosity about this incentive program. Describe a little bit more about what like a state would do to build some structure out around that.
Yeah. I think I've heard proposals of cities like Miami.
Anybody's done it yet.
No one's done it, but you hear about like Alaska, right? They pay cash dividends on a per household, per child benefit of living and working there, right? And so I think that is the equivalent of, hey, is there a way to go and create city coins or just use Bitcoin that incentivizes based on, I think, good citizen behavior, or simply just moving there and setting up operations and other things where you can create this reward system that's powered by blockchain, right? And so I think there's a lot of potential use cases that people much smarter than I will continue to develop, but from the tax side behind the scenes, we'll automate that.
I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
We want to be careful that the government wasn't using it to incentivize good behavior, because then good becomes relative, and then we have a kind of a privacy issue on our hands. But maybe something like someone moving their corporate offices, economic incentive or economic development incentives, perhaps even donations to things that the city needs, or like infrastructure, or like mental health, or something like that. I think there's some kinds of tax has always been as a tool of governments to raise revenue primarily, but also incentivize different
growth,
economic
right?
behavior. So that's cool. I have not thought of it in that way. What's on the horizon for you guys at Taxbit?
We're really fortunate right now, Lee. We're going through hypergrowth, hiring a world-class team. We're at about 250 people, growing to 400 even as early as this year. And so all of us, and some of the best software developers, subject matter experts, CPAs, attorneys, policy makers, ex-IRS veterans, are joining this because they're seeing this tokenization of everything. And I alluded to that earlier, where crypto was the gateway, but we're seeing patents and trademarks and identity, title, equities, real estate. This blockchain technology is enabling that to be fractionalized, accessible to everyday people, not just accredited high net worth individuals. And so our technology is really responsible for pioneering that and enabling that from a tax landscape. So we're continuing to invest in product innovation, building, working with the states. We obviously have worked at the federal level with the IRS for years now, but states are really starting to get eager about this, and then international countries as well. Crypto is not just a domestic activity, 70% of it's abroad. And so just going through that growth and navigating, building a great company.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you've hit on some things that I think about quite a bit, which especially in the tokenization of private equity and real estate. Huge.
Yes.
Private markets are larger than public markets by orders of magnitude, and they have potential to be liquidity to be injected through tokenization.
Yeah.
There's taxable.
But being able to democratize that, right? Like it takes a very rich person to be able to say, hey, I want to go buy a Manhattan real estate complex and have a property manager and collect tenant income. Well, imagine if that complex is owned by an LLC or a DAO that is represented by fractional ownership of a token. And now, grandma and grandpa and, your average class American can have exposure to that and participate pro rata in the monthly distributions and ROI that it generates, and have liquid exposure when they need the cash, being able to transmit it. So there's so many things here that I think are on the forefront and that are going to be really exciting in the financial sphere.
Do you guys partner with firms like T0 or Vertalo or some of these ATSs or digital transfer agents that actually work on the tokenization of private equity?
Absolutely. We can actually sit in, and we're just an API-based platform. So like Stripe, developers can go and grab our APIs, build white-labeled applications that are fully tax compliant inside. And so that's really where we envision like a T0 exactly, where, hey, we're going to go and fractionalize this asset. Well, the tax tracking is just built in right there. And every single distribution, every single event, all of our token holders will have that reporting in real time. They don't need to wait until the end of the year.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I could see, I don't know y'all's structure yet, but I'm sure there's been some eager Series A rounds, like investors just piling in.
We raised $230 million last year. We were fortunate to, not spend much of any of it. We were cash flow positive going through growth. And so, there's really, I think, intense market demand right now. And as this tokenized economy comes to fruition, Taxbit's at that heart, enabling it from a compliance perspective.
Incredible.
Oh, thanks, Lee. Yeah, we have a lot to go build, a lot to go do. And this is the early innings. That's what's so exciting about blockchain, crypto in general.
Yeah, we're builders.
That's right, we are, and hence why we're here, right? And this is still early. We were talking about getting into this in 2015, 2016, and it was very early then, but this is, I think, still very early in all this institutional adoption and ecosystem, government, regulation, adding credibility to it is really exciting.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the success thus far. Where can the audience go to find more about you and about Taxbit?
Yeah, you follow us on Twitter. We have a Taxbit page, LinkedIn as well. We're very active. And then what's really nice, if you're a retail investor, like I alluded to, we have a free consumer platform, and there's live chat with CPAs, technology specialists. So if you have personal questions about your unique situations, we're just a click away, and you can chat with us, and we're very community centric.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Austin. Enjoy Consensus, and we'll talk again soon.
It's an honor.